Okay, it's not a secret that I've had a huge crush on this lady for 20, 25 years. Not only because she's beautiful, but she's incredibly talented and soulful, has great insight, and just really is an important part of the Star Trek family. So I couldn't help myself. I had to moderate the segment, and so I had a chance to spend some time with her again. You know her, you love her. Please, a warm welcome for Miss Terry Farrell. They're great, right?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Get comfortable.
Oh, you're
you can
sit
sit back there if you want, or I'll sit here.
No,
Yeah,
wow. It's the year of the woman. I'm totally empowered.
Well, you look great.
Thank you. So do you.
There's nothing wrong with, looking good.
Yeah.
Male or female.
No, nothing. Being happily married helps.
No, it's awesome. Can we talk at all about that?
Oh, sure.
I mean,
Not crazy detail.
No.
I mean, my son's here.
But no, honestly.
Otherwise, I tell you everything.
We love Adam Nimoy. Everybody knows Adam Nimoy, right? We love the guy.
Thank you.
We've loved him for years, and we couldn't be more happy for you.
Thank you.
Delighted for you. It's great. So, what do you guys do together? You have some fun things that, not referring to the bedroom, but referring to just what are kind of some of the things that you like doing together?
Eating.
What do you do for? Everybody loves
together.
eating. Are you foodies?
We are foodies.
Yeah. So
I think we're foodies.
Yeah. Do you make the rounds of some of the different cutting edge restaurants in LA area? Because we got some amazing cuisine.
We do, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, we just took a trip to Berkeley, and we ate at really good restaurants every night. There was one night we went and had Peruvian food, and they were like, "We're so sorry, you're going to have to sit at the bar." And it was like, "Well, okay." Well, the bar happened to be like only 8 seats, and then you're right there for the chef. So it was like literally...
That's the best seats in the house. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we like that too.
In normal restaurants, you'd pay extra to sit there to be served by the chef, owner. And yeah, but they were, I don't think they realized what they were doing.
Plus, Peruvian food is really cool anyway.
Super cool.
Do you have like some of those potato things that they do? They do things with
potato things.
That's
like, you know that actor,
bury the potatoes.
that guy, that actor, remember him?
They
bury
the
potato
potatoes.
things they do? I'm sorry.
It's
You know what? I don't know that kind of food well enough, but it was like ceviche, and we just couldn't have. There was a lot of shellfish, and I don't know if you know, but the Nimoys are Jewish. Don't eat shellfish.
So Adam doesn't eat it?
You know, I knew that Jewish people did not eat pork, but not the shellfish thing.
Well, some. Yeah.
Well, not Adam.
Yeah.
Not my Adam. He doesn't.
Keep in mind, Dad was raised Orthodox.
Yeah, it was like super.
Leonard was like, super.
Yeah.
How much, if at all, did you know Leonard?
Well, he did Becker. He did an episode of Becker.
Oh,
I met him a few times.
Right, he did an episode of Becker.
Yeah, he did. But when he did Primordials, we were on Deep Space, and there were a handful of us. Voyager was on, because I think Bob Picard was with me, and Armand, and we all, they were like, please, you guys, go up to the observatory, because there's a thing called Primordials, and we need to support Leonard. We're all like, we're there. And of course we all had to wake up super early, so we were feeling like we were doing a good solid, we're doing one for the team. And I even have pictures of me with him, and I'm laughing too hard at something he's saying, which is like, why do they catch that moment,
Although Leonard was an extremely funny man. He had a very dry sense of humor too,
Yeah.
So when he hit you with it, would be really good. I think that.
I was a super big fan of his.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, everybody was.
Right.
But I think.
But when I was 11, I won tickets to see him as Vincent.
Oh, he was unbelievable. I mean, Vincent, Equus, and
at Paramount Theater in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Wow.
I I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Little did you know how the
Little
Nimoy family would entwine itself into your destiny.
Yeah, I'm going to marry your son.
So great. It's awesome.
I'm 11, he's
So great.
18, we're getting married someday.
So great. So great.
But yeah, so he did Becker, and well, I met him a few times, and every time I met him, he forgot who I was. And I was like, oh, I'm on that show, Deep Space Nine. Oh, how's that working for you? Did you just start acting? No. Love it. We've had this conversation before. And then the character he played on Becker, he was my professor, and I was his favorite student at the time. And he used to be Becker's professor, Ted Danson, only he didn't remember Ted Danson. And Ted Danson was his favorite student at the time. But of course, and then Becker's going crazy that he doesn't remember him. And at the very end, there's a little tease that, of course, we've been taking the piss out of Becker the whole time.
That's great. It was a great show, actually.
It was a great
show.
Thank you.
It was a great run, and
it was fun.
I thought that you and Ted had great chemistry together.
We did.
So that was awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Jadzia. I got to thinking a lot about Jadzia, and I'm fascinated with the gender orientation mystery of the character that was never really fully explored when the show aired. I think LGBTQ has been embraced by our society finally, long overdue, right?
Yes.
And I think that the Dax character was coming to, in its own way, coming to terms with that whole idea of gender identification and gender orientation in a unique way. I mean, the Dax has both male and female components in the character. So,
can I help you here?
yeah.
Okay. The symbiont.
The symbiont, yeah.
Whose name is Dax.
Yeah.
Right. Was androgynous.
It was androgynous, but
So
it took on male and female forms, right?
No.
No.
No, it didn't take on the forms. It was put in
Yeah,
male.
but it was put in, yes.
So it would go with whatever the host wanted. It had no preference whatsoever. I think what was interesting about Jadzia in particular is because well, she's the only one we're getting to know, right? But so has all of the memories of all of the previous hosts, and
Which is to say experiences that were both male and female.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, that's what complicates it, right? I think for people when they think about it. But Jadzia, I think her sexuality and how she looked at it, just Jadzia, I think she was pansexual because she had sex with aliens, males and females, and it didn't seem to matter. And she really, I think, was ahead of her time in how that people didn't really label my character this way, but it was someone who fell in love or was ready for an adventure for whoever that person was or being was, without regard for whatever was socially acceptable or looked a certain way. It was like there were no rules. The only rule was, are you interesting to me, and do I want to experience more of you?
And that's what's so great about the character and what's so forward-thinking about the character.
Exactly.
You know, so I think that resonates to me today now.
Right.
You know, our culture has finally kind of caught up with that.
Yeah.
That it was
there have always been people that way.
Yeah.
Just no one talks about it.
That's right. But that's why the character for the time, 25 years ago, was a forward-thinking character.
Exactly.
It's kind of cool that you got to play that character.
So super cool.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it gave me goosebumps just now.
That's right. So now, let's go back to the beginnings of the role. How did you audition? How did the whole casting thing come about?
Well, I tried to audition for it, and they had a lot of other actresses they wanted to see. They didn't think I was quite ready for the part. And Junie Lauer didn't want to see me. And this
well, you'd done Hellraiser already at that point, right?
Yeah, I'd started my first job, I was 19. So at this point, I'm 28 years old. So I've worked.
Yeah.
I was a cover girl and I was an actress. It was just, I didn't have a ton of experience, but I'd already worked a lot. People already recognized me. My first job was a show called Paper Dolls, and then I was it was right on the heels of me being a cover girl, and I did a lot of commercials, so I was very recognizable. And it was a time where TV Guide did these commercials, so I did. I was just a little bit probably oversaturated out there, you know, between covers and people knew my face, they didn't know my name, but then suddenly when I got Paper Dolls, it was like my name was out there, and TV Guide had these commercials, so you say, hi, I'm Terry Farrell, I'm on this new show called Paper Dolls. So now there's a name to go with my face, and I suddenly couldn't go like to the grocery store without, hey, you're that girl. And it was, so that was my Andy Warhol's 15 minutes of, holy shit, I want to go home. I don't want to see anyone. I'm afraid to go out.
So you actually had a negative reaction to that kind of...
It was overwhelming. It was a little scary.
It's so scary.
Yeah, and I moved away from home when I was 17 and lived alone, and I had some really unpleasant things happen to me with regards to men, and so that made me feel even more kind of...
Yeah, you had some moments of your own.
Yeah.
Screwed up, but I hate to say it.
But you know, and then partly the business was just like that. And
especially then.
Yeah, especially then.
It was bad.
You just suck it up. You didn't know. Oh God, that sounded terrible. But you just deal with it. You just deal with it. It's just part of it. Unfortunately, it was just a negative part that you just had to deal with because otherwise you lose your job.
It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, even on Deep Space.
But did you know, was it Junie Lowry that was doing the casting?
Yes, and actually I read for Ron Surma, and thank you for bringing me back. That's why it's great you're out here to help me. The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, and you know what? The great thing was they were really trying to find acts. So it was they really combed Hollywood, and I didn't get through the first set of auditions, and I ended up getting the part of the Cat in Red Dwarf. That combination didn't work because the character I was playing was a black, effeminate man, which was funny in the English version. A white woman playing that part, not funny. I looked great, but it wasn't funny. So they didn't keep me on, and then the series didn't go, which was great because then when I was available, I got to read they were ready for like, holy shit, we haven't seen her and we haven't found Dax, so I got to go in, and
it's a little surprise to me that you didn't click the first time because you had a very distinctive look.
Yeah.
And that's what they want in characters.
Right.
Notwithstanding your skill level, you had a definitive look.
Right.
And I would think that right off is an advantage. But
well, and everybody was reading for it. I don't know. It was like every tall, attractive woman I knew read for it. I mean, there were plenty of women who were like, "You got it." Like a little like you.
You look a little.
I read for that, and I'm a better actress than you.
You had a certain look that was a little different and stand out from a lot of the other kind of actresses.
And you mean that in a good way.
I mean that in a very good way.
Thank you.
It was distinctive.
Thank you.
So, okay, well, so second time around, you clicked it. What was that process like? How many layers of people did you have to go through? It's actually difficult experience, right?
Difficult experience, but not so many layers at that point because they were so far down to the wire. By the time I got the job, it was August 22nd. I know this because I read with Mariska Hargitay. Right. Pardon me, I like when I had a hard time saying her name. Clearly, she's doing fine.
She was reading for it too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, okay, so if you don't get it, if I don't get it, I hope you get it.
Wow.
And if you don't get it, I hope
so
you know
she
what I mean.
She read for Dax too.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, super cool. And I was like, and if I get it, I'm going to give you a present. So I went to Tiffany's and I got us key rings. I got one for me because I was like, holy shit, I got the part. And I got it for her because it was just like a cool friend thing to do. But August 22nd.
Right, when were you going to start filming?
August 22nd.
I mean, was it that
No,
fast?
that was the, yeah.
You got cast and bam, you're getting.
Yeah, because they were already 6 weeks in.
Oh my, oh, I see.
I was the only character left.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was crazy and it was really difficult
Okay.
because they were all like, everybody was super tense by then. They'd all bonded by then.
Did you know about the whole
I got
dots
No,
thing gag yet?
they actually gave me a forehead, which is what they had for the next gen. The man who had the.
All right. Yeah.
He was a
It's enough with the foreheads already. I mean, it's
they
the
took
nose, and it's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh,
but the spots were great.
And it was because Fromka Jansen, I guess they wanted her to play Dax.
Right.
Yeah. But she was already, she knew who she was.
Who was it that came up with that whole, is that Michael Westmore?
Yes.
What an amazing, elegant makeup.
I know.
You know?
She played a character that had spots.
Yeah.
And he made him, I don't know, it all came together.
What,
He said, let's do this. So we did, I think we did a week's worth of makeup testing with the forehead. So we shot some stuff. Carrie McCluggage, president of Paramount, went, oh my God, you hired a model and you made her look like.
so fortunately they got rid of that. The dots were they airbrush? What was the technique?
Hand painted
They were
with
hand-painted.
watercolor.
Wow.
For the first
Each
couple of years.
Each time.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd have a stencil or something, right?
No, Mike Westmore did it by hand.
Well, that's Mike Westmore for you. Let's hear it from Mike Westmore. I mean, you know, that guy's a genius. Actually, what was it? A couple of years ago, we had you do the wedding scene.
My idea.
With Mike. It's so great.
Thank you.
It's so great.
Because I was like, Steph, what do you think of this idea?
It's really
She's
great.
like, let me ask Adam.
That's good.
Adam, what do you think of this idea?
Yeah, it's great. And I said, yeah. Okay, so they've got they've got you fitted for wardrobe. They've established finally the makeup look. Now you have to get into the gestalt of the character. And who is kind of guiding you through that before you're kind of developing your own insights? Who really had the...
No, it was...
who was it?
Michael Pillar and Rick Berman. I'd go to their office.
Ira hadn't come on yet, or Ira was a little later, or...
He was later. I don't remember meeting him for years.
But I mean,
I remember the fourth season was when I remember talking to Ira and him saying, I mean, maybe he was there. He wasn't on... I had my own...
But I'm just saying, you couldn't have a better mentor in terms of concept than Michael Pillar. He's an incredible... beautiful, genius guy.
He created the character.
He was a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so,
but it was difficult because they didn't know exactly what they wanted from me. Yeah. And it's really hard. I mean, even if you're an experienced actor, to say that you're like highly experienced, you're playing 7 different lifetimes. Yeah. But here.
It's an amazing challenge, though. I mean,
yeah.
You know,
oh, it was so exciting.
Somehow you have to synthesize multiple personalities and viewpoints.
And what does that mean exactly?
And again, the whole gender thing, and you know.
Is it a personality disorder? What is it? It's.
Are you schizophrenic? I mean, do you lapse into different personalities, or
how much do you take it on?
I thought that Jadzia was an incredibly reconciled personality. There was nothing disjoint about the personality.
No, and you couldn't be, because otherwise they would not let you be joined.
What did Cisco used to call you? The old man?
Old man.
That's what I'm saying. You were more like...
That didn't really catch on.
No, but, and again, it's a man is a gender, but the point is you were sort of kind of like almost like a Yoda character. You had
they would be like Yoda and Grace Kelly.
Yeah, right. Perfect.
Like, well, I don't have to work at the Grace Kelly part. Yeah. The Yoda part I need to work on. So I started reading about Taoism, and actually there was a way that I thought about it. I don't remember. I'm sure my friend, a friend of mine helped me with this, who introduced me to Taoism and Dalai Lama and all this other.
What is the fundamental tenet of Taoism that you wish to endow into the character? Which to end Tao into the character?
I don't remember now, except for just being in the moment. And it is what it is. You are
kind of the serenity of.
My life has become so much more. You know, having a life.
And then, how did it feel to walk on that unbelievable set? I mean, that just brought it all to life for you, right?
Well, what actually had to happen for me was having to look at it as different instead of lifetimes, that my life was full of lifetimes, and that felt natural to me to think of my life that way, because my mom had been divorced a few times, so those were like different lifetimes, different families. And then I started working when I was 9, and I still went to school, but I started working for my mom at her salon, and it helped her as much as it helped her to have me busy, I'm sure. But then at that point I started babysitting at 11. I just always had another job, that kind of thing. And then I started modeling. That was another lifetime. Started acting. That was another lifetime.
So you could work with all that?
Yeah, that I could work with. Right. The op set was so overwhelming. Every other job I'd had was much smaller scale set-wise. Ops was like it was like a theater, and I'd never done theater, so, I mean, other than High School Musicals, that doesn't count. Not in the world we're talking about. But ops was enormous.
Yeah, and I mean,
how do you explain the scale of that?
The promenade, I mean, just
it was
so crazy.
But the promenade, you're moving and all of that, but ops, we're all acting at the same time on it. And, you know, someone's as far away as the front row, and you're projecting that far. Right. And
so it is almost like a theatrical experience.
Yes, yeah, especially whenever you did a master shot. And I was very proud then, too. I didn't want to write down my lines. I mean, I got over that eventually, but it took years.
TV is not like that. TV is much more in your face and much more close and immediate.
Yeah.
So
that was my experience. Extreme close-ups, masters, but they would go a little bit into a master and then go right into close-ups. And a lot of what played on Deep Space is we had a lot of big sweeping masters where you felt the grandness of what our set was.
Well, as grand as your sets were, what a huge and complex and fascinating ensemble you had to deal with.
So,
I mean, DS9, it's a huge looming ensemble. There are 20, 25 regular or semi-regular characters. It's incredible.
Yeah, and as I was listening to Chase speak too, and it was so great. First of all, does she have her hair short again? I was signing autographs, so I was like kind of peeking around. I love her with her short hair.
I know, it looks great.
So cute, right? And she has gotten so grounded. It's amazing. So that's not my fault.
That's me, sorry. We love her, and in fact, you know, she's one of our hosts and moderators.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's amazing.
We knew that.
Yeah.
We knew that all along.
Yeah.
Great lady. Yeah.
Yeah, she created her success. She's an amazing woman. But overhearing her, it was like, what's so great is how many characters were so full. We didn't just have guest stars or reoccurring characters that were, they were kind of filler. It was like they had rich backgrounds and rich storylines to contribute to all of it. It made everything seem so much more real when you're watching the show.
Yeah, it's like Shakespeare.
There's dimension.
Yeah, and so
and you care about them.
You care about them, and you care. I think honestly, the character arcs and the character interrelationships is part of what made that show so special.
I do too.
So let's talk a little bit about the relationship, starting with Dax and Cisco. And that was a great dynamic in working with Avery, who's a brilliant and fascinating and somewhat idiosyncratic personality himself. He's a fascinating guy.
Yeah, he is.
How did you guys click off together?
Well, in the beginning, it was very intimidating, and
he can be intimidating sometimes. But I think he does that on purpose.
I think he totally did it on purpose.
He's great. He's got a little bit of that Spencer for Hire thing going on inside.
Totally. Well, yeah, and he was. Yeah, I mean, and come to find out, he was a little angry that he couldn't shave his head to begin with, which it was like, wow, if I'd known, because he did look like, kind of a Ken doll, a brown Ken doll, didn't he? He looked so much better when he shaved his head. But at any rate,
true, yeah.
We all know that.
You hadn't known Avery before that, had you? Or,
no.
Okay, so
and I had this scene, David Carson's directing, and he calls me old man, and it was like, and I'm supposed to, be embodying this, old man.
You have to have sort of project more gravitas than Ben Sisko.
Thank you.
Right.
Not possible.
That's a tough
Because Avery's doing his,
assignment, right.
He's doing his whole, like, thing at me, and I'm like, what?
So how do you cope with that?
I pulled him aside. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm like almost near tears, and I like said, Avery, I'm so sorry, I need your help. I can't one-up you. I mean, really, like, I'm only 28, and you're like way more experienced than me.
So that's honest.
Honest.
Okay.
And help me.
Yeah.
Please help me.
But he did, right?
He did.
Of course.
And I think in the long run, it still was really actually poignant that Old Man didn't work. But it helped our relationship because it was someone who, Avery was someone who said, come to the table and play with me. I know you can do it. Dig, do it, kind of thing. And it was like, I look back and it's like, fuck yeah, I showed up. I did it.
Yeah.
I stood in my ground. I was,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And sometimes inside I was like going, woo! And on the outside I'm like, I'm cool. But on the inside it was like, shit, he was loud. That was a little scary.
I like the fact that characters like Dax and Kira didn't fall into the kind of stereotypical paradigms that men think of for female roles. And
all of our writers.
Yeah,
I mean, we were really lucky that we had stuff to play, and
really
then we
good.
were also really lucky that both of us were really ready to stand in our power, discover it, and have it in a way that wasn't. Well, certainly Dax. I didn't feel like I had to, put some kind of angry thing on to be masculine and strong. It was like, no, I'm strong, I'm right, I have experience, and I'm going to save the world today. We're going to save your asses. Watch us. We're Starfleet.
I don't like the concept of ascribing strength to masculinity. I think that's dysfunctional to begin with.
Right.
So I just like the fact that characters could be strong on their own.
Right.
That doesn't matter.
But it's kind of like that's been the example. There's this weird kind of,
well, that's the
because
whole.
they them bitches,
That's
but we weren't.
The whole misogyny of how male culture
Thank you.
kind of controlled, female culture for so many centuries. We're just still trying to get past that.
Right.
But I love that about the characters, and really the characters really served more the purpose of the story, which was really good.
Yeah.
Now. I still, having said that, I still love the fact that this crazy relationship developed between Worf and Dax.
I know.
And I loved it.
And it's so weird, because it's like, here he is, he's this big...
He's a teddy bear of a Klingon,
Me man, you woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was a very poignant relationship. I really did. I thought there was a lot of heart and sensitivity to it. So how did you and Michael sort of, when you saw that the writers were going to move in that direction, how did you two kind of get together or huddle together and say, all right, how are we going to play this now?
Well, it was great because the first scene we had, because we were already friends, we're like, okay, let's flirt with each other. Maybe they'll write more stuff for us.
Oh, so you actually were trying to put the idea in the writers' minds already?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because then, they say that's chemistry. Oh, you create chemistry.
Smart.
I like you. I find you interesting. It's chemistry, right?
Yeah.
So if you are acting it, if you're both on board with it, you're creating your own chemistry. And then there's a history already because we were friends, that there's just an ease in that. So then when we did have stuff, it was just joyful. It felt like we'd won. We got to work together, Yeah,
it was wonderful, and culminating in the wedding, which is so much fun. And it was
such a great episode.
So ceremonial and festive in its own peculiar manner. It was a really great time.
Yeah.
And then when we got to a couple of years ago, see you get back into the wedding dress, which you still fit perfectly, I might add, is congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I didn't have the right bra on with it, but we couldn't take all the wardrobe with us. I had fittings for the size of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of massage,
you know, without getting, we're going to go to Q&A in a minute or two.
Right.
Without getting into any bad feelings, though,
Yes.
and we love Nicole,
Yeah.
who did a great job.
Of course.
But we were sorry to see you go. On
Thank
the show,
you.
you know.
Thank
And,
you.
everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But still, I know a lot of us miss Jadzia.
Thank you.
And coming so close to the end of the show was kind of jarring.
It was jarring.
You know.
It was. I was really surprised. It was a hard decision to
Well, you had your reasons, and we can just leave it at that, I'm saying, but...
well, it was more a matter of I felt like I deserved a negotiation. I wasn't given one.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had to stand up because there were opportunities that happened for me within that 6 years that if I were a man, I would have been given the
Well, that's
option
even
to take
that,
advantage of it.
That's insidious and unfortunate.
But that's what I was fighting
But
for.
even having said that, this kind of thing happens a lot
Right.
in the business, so...
And then there's other stuff that happens
Yeah.
that you go, you know what, is it worth it? Do I really want to work like this anymore?
Well,
And, you know, because people, well, that
it all
would be
happens
better.
for a reason.
But I got Becker.
Yeah.
And
so,
there were two other things
it's
I
great.
tested for in between,
Yeah.
and I'll get something else, you know.
Or-
Watch
and-
me go, go, go.
And so the great news that you just gave me a few minutes ago is
Yes.
you're kind of putting your hat back in the ring, and you're going to maybe
I am.
get to do some more work now,
I
right?
am.
That'd be good,
I am.
right?
Yes.
Get Terry back out into the
Thank
acting
you.
role.
Actually, Kitty Swink and
Armin's wife,
Armin's wife,
Kitty Swing.
and a director named Kristen Baker are doing a film called Storyville, which is, I forgot to tell you that, I'm sorry, because we see each other so briefly
Yep.
before it come out, but it's about a district right outside of New Orleans from the turn of the last century, like the late 1900s, and it ended in 1800s and ended in 1917. It was where women ran all these brothels. True story. And they tried to erase it from New Orleans history. Well, they're making a movie about it,
Wow.
and I'm going to be one of the madams.
Fascinating. Oh, all right. That sounds like fun.
It sounds like fun.
Where are they filming it?
Los Angeles
LA, huh?
in October.
Wow.
And there's other
Great.
actresses you might know, but
That's
I'm going to
great.
let them tell you.
Oh, good luck on
That you
that.
might see this weekend.
Very nice. Yeah, we have got a couple more surprises up our sleeves for the weekend. All right.
Okay, well, but it doesn't have to do with Star Trek, sorry.
But it's so
But I'm
it's
very excited to
it's
see
so awesome.
Picard. Who's excited to see Picard?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Okay,
Okay.
time is getting away from us. Why don't we start over here? Okay.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. It's
Can we get
great
some
to
lights
see you.
on over there? I don't know if we can or not. But... Yeah, thanks so much.
Correct
Here
me if
we
I'm
go.
wrong, but you seem like a method actor. So when you get a script, how do you break it down? What's your routine? That sort of thing.
What's my routine? Well, first I try really hard to just read it for the story, and really that doesn't work because I'm too curious about my character. So I read it the first time and I'm like really selfish and self-indulgent and all about my own ego about what's my character doing. Then I read it again for the story and everything else. And then I go through and start to think about the relationships and what my objectives would be in each scene. Just the short answer.
Very much.
Thank you.
That's good method.
Thank you.
And did you have an acting teacher or acting coach?
Yes, I actually studied with a teacher named Kate McGregor Stewart in New York, and then I studied with Stella Adler in LA when she was
renowned
alive.
Stella Adler's
Oh my
amazing.
God,
Yep,
it was a great school, and it's so weird now. The neighborhood looks totally different, but Nana's son is studying there right now.
Great.
Very cool.
Great.
But I met her a couple times, and she
Buster?
no, Django.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was like, darling, they're gonna throw you off the stage because you're beautiful. You just keep getting back up there. You just keep getting back up there. I was like, This is me sharing a taxi in New York with Stella Adler.
Training is key.
Training is key?
It really is.
And then experience. You just have to get out there and do it. Because it's a whole different thing to be in class. You don't have the amount of time that you do when you're out there doing it.
Yeah, you can be self-taught, but having a great teacher, really.
Yeah, and I'm in class with Nana's brother, Ian.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a really good teacher.
Small world, right?
Small world.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, over there.
Hi. If you, let's say they were going to resurrect Jetsi and Dax, would you want to come back and play that character again?
Sure. I think what they do is just not even deal with anything. They just, there she is. Like Spock. There she is. Let's not even talk about it. No cloning, no this, no that. Just, there she is. Oh, look, there's Dax.
We would love it.
I would love it.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Maybe they can bring Westmore out of retirement to do these spots.
My gosh.
How great would that be?
It'd be so cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, good to see you again.
Thank you.
So you just always strike me as so wise and so grounded, and I love that about you. So I wondered if you could have a conversation with anybody, who would it be? Like anyone from history or someone you've always wanted to meet?
It's a great question.
It is a great question. Well, the actress in me would really love to hang out with Jessica Lange. At any point. Frances was like, oh my God, amazing to me when I was young and I saw it for the first time.
She's pretty awesome on American Horror Story.
Oh my God,
she's really great.
Oh my gosh. And so is Zachary Quinto.
Zach is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Have you seen Nosferatu?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
But I have the advantage of my mother-in-law being friends with him, and she invited us to a dinner party, and he was there, and it was like, oh my God. Like, I'm having dinner with Zach Quinto, like it's no big deal.
He's the real thing.
Yeah, he's cool. What a nice guy.
How about some
talented.
other historical figure?
Lincoln.
Wow.
I think Lincoln would be super cool because he seemed super balanced and real about what was possible and trying really hard not to alienate anyone and trying to get as far as he possibly could with freeing people.
That'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of person was that? That's an interesting person. Yeah. And he's tall. I love that he was tall.
Okay. Over there.
So one of the things that I think a lot of other fans love most about Deep Space Nine was that we actually got to go sort of on the ground and really explore alien societies in detail. So I wanted to ask you, what are some aspects of Trill society that you wish the show would have explored more?
How about just going there? I mean, I had family. How come I never saw them?
Is Trill specifically a world?
Yeah.
It's a world.
It's a world.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
in the book.
Yeah. They should have exiled me to Trill.
Or at least done some
She was bad.
flashbacks to kind of.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But you know, in all fairness, it's a super selfish thing to want to know.
Well, that's the kind of show where that backstory would have worked and would have been good, but they're
Right.
juggling 50 different plot lines at the same time. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
But it would have been nice, right?
Yeah, why not? In a perfect world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question.
Both you two, you were featured in the wonderful What We Left Behind documentary, which for anybody who hasn't seen it, like, it's just fantastic to watch. And I'd say, Terry, for me, it was cathartic as a fan to kind of get some closure for your departure there. Like, I understood better, like, what you were going through. And I'm wondering, was this experience cathartic for you to a certain degree? What was the experience doing the documentary or even getting to watch it?
Yeah, the first interview with Ira really was because, and this was 2013, because I hadn't spoken to anyone about it, and when it all was happening, during the 6th season, while all of the drama was happening behind the scenes, I didn't share it with my coworkers because I knew I was on my own at that point, and it felt, it just would have felt indulgent and weird to share that at work. Especially because I knew at that time in particular, there were people that were upset with me for just not wanting to just take it or leave it offer and be okay with just like, you know, you're like being, somehow I wasn't a team player when I was, you know, my contract ended. I had every right to do what I was doing. Actually, Ira said, didn't you wonder what was going to happen to your character? And I said, well, I found out. I died. I'm sorry. But I think that the response was kind of great because it was at that time where you never expected a regular character to die. So there was something really kind of great about being at that pivotal time in storytelling where it changed the game. And then suddenly you see shows where holy shit, they killed that guy. And now it's like, oh, now we watch. Then there was another few years go by and then it's like, you never know. You never know who's gonna die. Right? So it's kind of interesting to have been at that tipping point, for me anyway. But, you know, that's how narcissistic I am.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got time for one more question.
Oh, wow. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
During your 6 years, is there a particular episode or scene or sequence that turned out to be way harder to film than you thought it was going to be, or something that you were happy with how it turned out, but you would never want to do that particular activity again?
You mean like waking up at 4 in the morning? Technobabble. I mean, as much as Nicole talks about it being super easy for her, it was not easy for me, and I have a short tongue, like it's always on the back of my teeth. I had my tongue clipped like 3 times to try to make it longer. I know it's really gross to know that about me, but so it makes it very hard for me to be super articulate. So those words are particularly physically difficult for me to say. So whenever I'd watch it and it turned out great, I was like, yes! So it was a huge accomplishment for me. But do I want to do it in that way again? No, but now with the experience that I do have, I would take more time and I would make sure I hired someone to help me with it instead of trying to do it all by myself.
All right, good. Let's squeeze in this one last one, please.
So given that a lot of coloration and features have an evolutionary...
You look amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why do Trill have spots?
I do not know, because they look good. They must look good because
they do look good.
They keep, well, if they would say, what was...
They are an enhancement to mating, of course.
Of course.
They make the Trill look good, so...
It must be a looking good thing because obviously they keep procreating and creating the spots. So you don't have spots.
There you go.
USOL.
Spots. Well, Terry, it's like an annual thing to have you at the show, and we love you. So
I love you too.
Keep coming back,
Thank
okay?
You.
All right,
course.
okay.
Thank you.
Terry Farrell, let's see you.
Thank you, everybody.